Bob, welcome to Media Revolutionaries.
Well, thank you.
How did you get into this business?
Well, I was growing up in a small town in Mississippi, loved airplanes, and needed a job to pay for flying lessons. And age 15, you can solo when you're 16. I tell this to my parents, and they said, well, you better get a job. So I tried to get a job at a men's clothing store, which was the cool place to hang out after school. They said I was too young. I tried to get the high-paying job in town, which was bagging groceries at the Piggly Wiggly. And they had no jobs, as you can imagine. And I walked into a little radio station, and the owner of the radio station was there. He said, do you get in trouble? And I go, no, not really. Do you have good grades? I go, yeah, pretty good. He goes, come read this wire copy, ripped it off the thing, read this in a tape recorder. And he goes, that's good enough. Go to New Orleans, get your third-class radio telephone operator's license, and you're hired. And that began my career.
And you started as a disc jockey?
Yeah, as a disc jockey at age 15. I went through being a disc jockey in Mississippi, Milwaukee, Detroit, and I got to program my first radio station in Pittsburgh when I was 19. And then NBC hired me in Chicago to program their stations there, and then sent me to WNBC in New York, their flagship, when I was 23.
Did you have a mentor during that time?
You know what? I've had mentors throughout my life, and yes, I did. I had a guy named Charlie Warner, who was the general manager in Pittsburgh and went on to Chicago and brought me to Chicago with him, who had been at CBS in New York and told me all the tales of how the big time worked, and was really a great mentor of mine.
What was your biggest setback, and how did you deal with it?
You know, it's funny, I don't really think about my setbacks because I don't view anything as a setback. You know, nothing goes from here to here. Everything is like this to get there. And I think anybody who focuses on, oh, it's a setback, says, okay, that didn't work, we need to go, we went left, we need to go right. It's just a process of trying to get where you're going, and you're going to have to try a lot of things. In our place, we preach at iHeart that mistakes are the byproduct of innovation. That if you're going to try something new, there's no way you're going to think it through on paper. You're going to have to try things. And if you get it right 50% of the time, you're a genius. So stop worrying about, am I going to have a setback? Or am I going to make a mistake? Just keep focusing on the goal and trying to hone in on what gets us there. And you'll be right sometimes, you'll be wrong sometimes. Do more of what's right, stop doing what doesn't work. And by the way, ask yourself, what did I learn from it? And course correct.
A new college graduate is looking around for something to do. Why would you recommend they get into this industry?
Well, I think the advertising media business is so broad and so great that you really do get to understand the most important thing in any business, the consumer. And the people who do this business the right way, and by the way, the reason I've been able to be in real estate and internet and TV and radio and you know, you name it, I've probably been in the business. Tequila, I've got my tequila right behind you, is because I don't focus on the business, I focus on the consumer. And if you get in this business, you'll learn the consumer. And you'll learn how to talk to the consumer, how to relate to the consumer, how to motivate the consumer, how to connect with the consumer. And those are the things that allow every business to grow. So no matter what business you want to be in, start with the consumer, and this business teaches you the consumer.
Where is this industry going to be in 10 years, and how's it going to change, and what's going to drive it?
Well, it's interesting. I think, you know, radio is almost a limiting description of what we do. You know, we're one of the biggest social players out there because people talk to us. You know, so radio started out as the first social medium. If you ever worked in radio, the request line rang all the time, the contest line, the dedication line, people wanted to talk. Today, social's the new telephone. So instead of having the dialogue, we have an omnilog, but that makes us a very big social player. When I look at the business, I think what we're moving towards, we're getting away from ratings, we're getting into ROI. We're moving away from formulas, and we're moving into goals and concepts. What we're really trying to do is build engaged relationships with consumers and not trying to sell them on something. We're trying to connect them to what they would like. And it's understanding products, it's understanding the consumer, and making those matches. Data is transforming this business. You know, the way in which we buy and sell media is sort of closer to Selectric typewriters and whiteout than it is the modern day. And we've got to move the business there, and we're in the process of doing it. And I think when we look at the business in 5 or 6 years, it's going to look very data-driven. It's going to look very consumer-centric. It's going to be, I always talk about this wonderful mix of the math, the quantitative stuff, and the magic, which is the creativity that we all bring to it. I mean, I can understand the consumer, but if I'm not very exciting, all this knowledge does me no good. That we've got to know who they are, and then we've got to excite them. We've got to engage them, and that's the magic.